Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it might be, wherever you are. We are back with another action-packed. Is this an action-packed 425 show today, Christos, or partially
It
action-packed?
depends on how excited you get for graph and calendars. I mean, we'll do our best to make it action packed, but
Well,
some people might.
this calendar's become a bit of an odyssey. This is far
It
more
is
work than I ever thought I'd have to put into a calendar.
our longest running theme, working with calendars and .NET. Right, it's great because I think we've done at least 4 or 5 episodes so far on how to pull the data out from a calendar, and we found a workaround after our fantastic audience hit us with different ideas and we're brainstorming live. So now we actually have a solution, which doesn't require any hacks or any token stealing or any hacks that JP has put in place. Although it was good practice. Yeah.
The token stealing was quite a bit of fun.
How to hack your own company and get fired at the same time while you're educating people about how to hack their tokens.
I mean, I don't know.
That episode came with a disclaimer: do not do this at home, and please do not.
Definitely don't do it against our tenant. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we weren't using anything. There was nothing. There's no proprietary information used or anything. It's just
Nope.
you know. I mean, a lot of this code's out on GitHub anyway, but nonetheless.
Indeed. And we have some good friends. We have Trooper with us today. We have DT in the cloud, which we haven't seen in a while. Welcome back. It's been a while indeed. And we have all our friends on the Microsoft Developer Stream. If you see us commenting on stuff or saying hi to people, just be aware that we're streaming on the 45 show on Twitch and the Microsoft Developer and YouTube and Twitter. Are we on Twitter? We're on Twitter, right?
We're on Twitter.
So all over the place. We're not on Twitter. We're not doing Periscopes. Oh, we are. Okay.
No,
So
they were like, yeah, Periscope's going to be deprecated on March 31st, and yet it still works. So, okay, whatever, we'll take it. We'll take what we can
We'll take it. We'll take it or we can get it. So we love our audience. And today we have some fun things. We don't have any news today, at least not something that I may have missed or it's worth mentioning. We are heading very quickly to RC1 for .NET 6, which is exciting. I don't know if you're... Yeah, no, it's not jammies, man. It's... What are you talking about? This is a Nike polo. How? I mean, I don't know. Do people sleep in like satin polos? I don't. So.
I mean,
but thank you, Bolt.
You might. Very bourgeois over there. And,
True. We're so upper class over here.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a great idea, my friend. Maybe we should do 45 show jammies for our friends. That can be an amazing swag. What do you guys think? Would you prefer socks or jammies? What would be a good swag for the 45 show?
Well, if we did pajamas, we'd have to get kid sizes for starters.
Yes.
And secondly, we'd have to get everybody to wear them to our first in-person conference.
Oh, yes.
Which, who knows when that's even going to be.
Well, so, we might do .NET Conf in our jammies.
I could do that.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Yes.
I mean, everybody only sees me from the neck up anyway, so, you know.
Hey, I've got shorts underneath. I am extremely casual this morning, so there you go. See,
yeah.
It's like going on TV to tell the news, like a newscaster, right? It's it's formal from the waist up, and it's flip flops and shorts on the way down. Purkinje is saying on the Microsoft Developer that they are looking for their identity and they expect to find it here. If it's a digital identity, we'll help you find it. How about that?
Yeah. We're still trying to figure out who we are. But
Indeed. Yeah.
Now, there was no news. I did see, so apparently, apparently, the new iPhone is going to have some sort of emergency satellite phone tech in it.
Oh,
yes.
Something. Yes.
Well, I saw this headline today on Barron's. They said, space stocks have been soaring. Say that twice. Space stocks have been soaring on the news of Apple potentially creating a satellite phone. And I don't know.
I love this industry and speculation. It's amazing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think being some sort of a financial analyst or stock analyst, it's got to be the best job in the world because all you do is go rile people up with ignorant speculation and then reap the benefits of the money of everybody going and buying a bunch of space. Like, oh, I don't know. Let's see. I bought these 5 space stocks. Let me see. I should go tell everybody that, Apple just is going to put satellite, and then they go make a bunch of money.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, and there's like no accountability. It's like, well, this seems like a great job. You just make a ton of money. All you do is say whatever brilliance spews forth from your mouth on Twitter and in official analyst reports. And then, and if you're wrong too many times in a row, just change your name, right?
Yes.
I don't know. You don't know who these people are, right? So I don't know.
No.
Maybe I'm oversimplifying what being a financial analyst is all about, but based on some of these headlines, I don't know, man. Doesn't seem like it takes a whole lot of critical thought. Just me.
Nope. Are we launching Azure Space? Eating the Cloud is asking.
There was an Azure Space thing, right? Some sort of satellite thing where we were going to launch some satellites, and I know Amazon had that for a while. AWS had the satellite thing with like a network of ground stations.
Okay. Azure Orbital. Yeah, that was the one. Azure Orbital.
Yeah, whatever happened to that? I wonder if that's going to end up like Azure Blockchain.
That is a good question.
Oh yeah, it's still Azure Orbital is in preview, and according to Bing, it's popular at Microsoft.
Well, now that we have the space race for getting, it would be nice to know that if you get stuck and you don't have any signal, you can go via space. But I don't know what the cost will be on that, and it didn't clarify exactly how it will work. If you need to have an extra subscription or pay more money.
Ground stations as a service. Interesting. So basically, it's all. I guess it's all the physical. It's all the physical links back home from your satellite, right? I have to say, I haven't flown in over. Or I did fly this summer, but last time I flew 18 months ago.
Yep.
The Viasat or whatever, Viasat satellite stuff. Man, it's fast. I could stream like Netflix and Amazon and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised. It was pretty
Bring
good.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Like, I don't have to load up my tablet with a bunch of movies. I can just stream straight from Amazon now. This is fantastic.
Did you do NPM install though?
I did not do that. So
see?
Yeah. Well,
so,
I guess we need to figure out some sort of use case and go launch us a satellite. Down here in South Carolina, I'm sure I could find some good old boys who let us shoot a rocket off from their backyard, from their field somewhere. Might be a fun project.
It would be. Somebody said, I think it's Tony BCA said Azure Data Center region on Moon. We need one of them.
Good. Yeah,
we
should do one of those.
We need to be first there, obviously, because we have more Azure regions than anybody else. But I'll get on the call with Satya to let him know that this is popular demand. We have a new feature request, please.
Yeah, we'd like to have an Azure data center on the moon. Although they're putting them in the ocean right now, right?
We do have submergible data centers, which are self-sustained, and they don't require any cooling, which is pretty exciting.
That's kind of cool. I could get down with that. Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. I don't know. Well, anyway. Now, there really wasn't a whole lot of news. It's like slow summertime still here, so there wasn't a whole lot of news. A hurricane came in, which was awful for people down in Louisiana.
Yeah, man. Did you guys get affected at all?
No, we might get some rain today, or tomorrow, but not a lot.
Okay.
But, it's it's horribly hot here. It is 97, 98 degrees. You walk outside and you just think, well, I literally have nowhere else to go. I guess I'm just going to go back inside because there's nothing for me to do here. And the kids are home from school because my oldest was exposed to COVID, so he's home quarantined for another week. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
So, he's trying to figure out he's like, how do I get Minecraft on my school iPad? I'm like, I don't think you do that. I don't think that's a thing you can do.
How can I hack my tablet? SB Rouge. Hey, buddy. How are you? Project Natic, but Mark Krasinovich is already working on the next one. What is that? Project Natic? Have you heard about that?
That was the one the submersible, like
the submersible one.
Data center, yeah.
You know
cool.
project names. It is.
I remembered that name. I don't know why I remembered that name.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there really wasn't a whole lot of news, hasn't been? It's been kind of slow for news. Just I think because it's summertime and everybody's on vacation.
Yep.
So I don't know. Like the submersible stuff was cool.
It was.
I think what would be cool would be seeing it at scale. Like, is that an actual thing that's going to happen at scale, or is it just a cool tech experiment? You know.
Well, we did have data centers in a container, right? It could be delivered right outside your office, and you could run your own data center. And that's still the case. I suspect that depends on demand and how.
There's a guy I worked with a long time ago who was really into Bitcoin mining, and he built a shed in his backyard, and he had just floor to ceiling stacked with like GPUs and stuff, and that's what he did. That's what he did it with. But he didn't really cool it a ton, and it actually worked pretty well. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
Very nice.
I don't think hardware needs to be as cool as we thought.
As long as it works. I think reliability and having a working solution is more important than anything else.
Those containers were cool because they would take, they would treat them almost like a hard drive. And so,
yes,
like they'd reach a certain critical failure rate where most of the, some number or some percentage of the nodes inside had died. And they'd say, all right, time to get a new container in here. It's kind of fascinating.
Isn't it crazy that it's fully self-maintainable, and then once you hit a threshold and you go like, okay, check the whole thing and then do it. But they have so much redundancy there that it will keep working until it hits that critical level. That's just insane. I love it.
Perkinji says, at least they're trying to be cool. Innovation needs experimentation. It absolutely does. I would agree 100%. I'd just like to see that one turn into like a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it had nitrogen in it, Trooper. Is that what it was? Was it nitrogen that was inside of them instead of oxygen?
Nice.
Because I guess oxygen is quite corrosive. So, hey, Scrooge. So we took your idea because
oh yeah, we did.
So I guess we can talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. We're going to do PIM for Azure API, the PIM Azure API later this week. We're going to do one on Thursday and one on Friday. And the reason is there's a third iteration of the PIM API, Privileged Identity Management. This is for essentially removing standing access. So like you can give somebody access to a thing, to Azure AD or to Azure. You can give them admin or reader or contributor or whatever access to something. But instead of them always having it, they have to elevate. With their own account, they don't use a separate account, but they elevate, and somebody can approve it, or they can just get it automatically, but it's for a time window, like an hour or a day or whatever.
Yep.
And historically, that PIM API has always been in Azure AD, and so it was kind of a pain because it was in Azure AD, but they had PIM for Azure resources and whatever. So anyway, there's a new API that is based on Resource Manager. On Azure Resource Manager and the typical Azure RBAC stuff. So if you're used to using Azure RBAC and role assignments in Azure, it works with that to do schedules and conditions and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, there's no support yet in the Azure SDK, but we figured we would put together something really quick later this week about it. So that's what we're going to do later this week. We're going to do it today, but I don't have enough time to. It's a weird API. Like, it's one of those things where you make like 17 API calls to make one sort of atomic transaction. You're like, it's a pain. But so anyway, I promise this will be the last stream about this calendar because I'm tired of the calendar. It's been an absolute debacle. So earlier this year, I guess, feels funny to say that, a few months ago, we had some folks build us a really cool, wicked-looking website at 425show.dev.
If you haven't seen our website or haven't been yet, go bookmark it.
Yeah. Of course, a website isn't terribly useful without some data in it, right? And one of the bits of data that was in it was, here, let's get this up here. One of the pieces of data that was in it was the calendar of upcoming events. So we got our blog or whatever. We really got this upcoming activities at a glance. right? And it's got all the different things we have on our calendar. Well, that calendar is in Azure AD. Well, not in Azure AD. It's in Office 365 at work, and it's a shared calendar, so other the people we work with can see it and update it and whatever. Well, the thing is, getting the permission to read that calendar because of our like corporate consent policies and all that sort of stuff, it's essentially a non-starter.
Yeah.
Because if it's an application permission, it needs admin consent, and if it needs admin consent, you might as well give up because you got to jump through so many hoops to get admin consent here.
Yep.
So we did a bunch of different things. We looked at doing delegated, but then we couldn't get that consented either. Nope. And then we built a really cool refresh token stealer. In fact, it's still sitting here in my browser, the Sophie, the giraffe token ripper. This code's going to go up on GitHub later. So we were ripping graph tokens out of the Graph Explorer and reusing those, which would work, but the 24-hour time window caused that to bomb. And then Steven came into the Discord, which if you're not on the Discord, it's a cool place to be. Steven came to the Discord and said, essentially said, you two are a bunch of clowns. You should do this instead.
Yes.
And the proposal was go and import your ICS or link your ICS into
a tenant that we have access to, right?
Where you do have access. So I did that.
So simple, and yet we didn't think about that. So thanks to our supportive audience there for helping us find a workaround that is not hacky and that it works.
Yeah, so we added a calendar. We pointed it to the ICS, right? Subscribe from web. So we did that, and here they are. So here are all of our.
I have a question. So yes, they were testing adding events, and you said it could take up to 2 hours to sync. Did that actually sync?
It took 24 hours.
Took 24 hours? I mean, it's fine for us because we're not changing the calendar continually, right? But that's something you need to be aware of. Like if you go down that approach, then it means that you will not be able to have almost real-time data reflected into the shared calendar. Just be aware.
Now the sync seems
that's insane.
The sync seems to be a little faster because I made a bunch of changes yesterday and they showed up this morning. Now, the event I did not show up until this morning. However, what was interesting is I made changes this morning at 9 a.m. This is what, two hours ago or so. I made changes at 9 a.m. to change the titles, and those synced fairly quickly because you look now and they're already up.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe new events are slower, but updates are faster.
See, that feels like counterintuitive because you would think, well, it's a new event that should get there soonest, right?
Well,
but anyway,
yeah.
So at any rate, we've got our calendar data now in our. We've got the calendar data in a different tenant where we are admins.
Yes.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna do a show Thursday afternoon, Bolt, at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is what, 6 or 7 p.m. UTC.
UK time. Yeah, UTC.
So we're gonna do on Thursday afternoon. We're gonna be diving into this PIM, the PIM API, which
elevation of permissions and managing access through PIM, which is great.
But at any rate, so we got our calendar data in a thing that we can now actually go and access because we can do control. We can do what we need to do with it.
Are you gonna show us some code?
So now I've got to go rip out the incredibly silly, sort of stupid token tricks code of borrowed refresh tokens.
Yep.
Now we can go rip all of this out and just do things like normal people.
Like normal people.
I'm going to keep the code. I'll probably keep the code in at least in commit history for the sake of other people wanting to learn about the MSAL token cache. But at any rate,
you could create a new branch if you want to, so we can switch to that.
Yeah, I suppose we could.
When in Git, you might as well use it.
Git stat. If I can remember how to type status. Wonder what I changed here.
Do a git diff. A git add. I don't care. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, who cares? I'll just take it. I think. Let's see. What did I do? What did I change here?
JP. So a space bar.
Oh, I started working on what we were gonna do today.
Yeah.
That's why. Well, let me just toss them out. Now here's one thing I don't know how to do from Git on the command line. How do I essentially revert or trash a local change? It's easy to do in the
Git
UI.
checkout. Git checkout dot.
If you break this repository,
Git status.
huh? Look at that. That's awesome. Thank you.
God
It doesn't
damn,
honestly doesn't make any sense to me.
Why?
How git checkout dot does that?
Oh, you could do Git. You could do a soft or a hard reset if you want to, but
Yeah, see, that just feels so dangerous. That doesn't feel like something I'd want to do.
well, the nice thing is that everything that you've done is committed into the Git ref log, and therefore even what you just did just now, it will still be there, so you can revert it.
All right, so I'm going to pull and just make sure because the other thing is I'm not entirely sure I've got latest here, but anyway, okay. So we've got all this really silly code that's running, and we need to dump it and just kind of do a straight up normal MSAL thing. And so we're in an Azure function. There's nothing special about this function. It's just a normal Azure function.
A gigantic normal function with tons of files, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, it's C#. If you don't have tons of files, are you even doing it right anymore?
Well, with minimal APIs, you don't have to, but I'm just saying. Do you know if Azure Functions are going to adopt a minimalist kind of a way? It might be weird if you just have like console.write line and everything just works in a function, but curious to see what happens. And for people that are joining us and they haven't seen Azure Functions before, Azure Functions is a serverless service on Azure that allows you to write a little bit of code and run it somewhere without hard dependencies on weird things like a platform. So we choose Git Functions because it's the easiest way to run code without having to deploy stuff somewhere. It runs locally as well, which is great. Git checkout be vanilla. Oh,
I guess we'll
clean.
I guess we'll create a new branch called vanilla, and we'll go gut everything.
Yes.
Funny how cyclical it all is. We all just go in this giant circle, like, oh, we got to do all these things to fix things, and then, oh, wait, we don't have to do any of that. We'll just come up with an alternative.
But that's development at its core. You just explain what developers do most of the time.
Yeah,
you try something, you go down the wrong path, and then
So I've got a project I wrote 10 years ago that uses Azure Web and Worker roles. And I thought I had migrated off of all of them, but I actually haven't yet. So I'm going to have to do that sometime. I'm going to have to find time to do that sometime soon, because those are now in like extended support or whatever. I don't know. But I have a bad feeling they're going to get cut off. But they're WCF, and there's no WCF in .NET Core, so I'm kind of like, well, means I have to rewrite them to like Web API or something. Okay.
There's WCF client support in Core. There's just no server.
Well, but they're all servers. Anyway, okay. So we don't need this token refresher anymore, so we can delete that. In fact, if we just end up deleting code all day, that'd be great. So we don't need that anymore. So we've got this upcoming event, so it's just an API call. And for the most part, the API call is going to be the same. The graph client, we were providing... we're providing a graph client here. We could probably inject the graph client. We don't need to create a new one each time.
Indeed.
But instead of this per user token cache MSAL authentication provider, we need a new authentication provider for client creds.
Correct.
And I think Graph has one, but we could also just create our MSAL. We could just create an MSAL and do it that way too. We just have to wrap the MSAL, right?
You do, but I suspect that you might want to use Graph authentication, the Graph authentication library to do that. Our friend Q Madness OP has a question. Yeah, go for it.
What's up, Q Madness 0P?
It's not Q Madness. I mean, you need to learn how to speak modern, dude. And you're younger than me, so.
Well, I'm too old.
Is it 7 years? You're 36?
36.
God damn, you're 7 years younger than me.
I feel like an old man. Okay.
You feel like
what's your question, QO Madness?
Yeah, there's no. Well, in the meantime, go download the credentials.
We're waiting with bated breath.
Oh, we're waiting with. Well, I'm holding my breath until you ask.
I'm really curious what this question is.
I want combine. Combine. I want to combine.
Hang on, should we guess? You want to combine date and a time? Okay. Okay. You want to
Just
combine
do
a date,
new date time.
So like a date time. No, it's okay. My English is bad too. And Christos
Don't worry, buddy.
Christos is
I am worse.
particularly bad. You should hear Christos talk about going to the beach.
See, now I feel I can't talk about the beach anymore.
Okay, so we were like, I'm going to go lay down on the beach. I was like, excuse me, you're going to do what? I wasn't sure what you were. Anyway, so you want to combine a date and a time in JavaScript. So really quickly, there's you can do it with straight out of the box JavaScript stuff, but
new date time, right? Oh, new date, and it was just you pass everything in there.
It's represented in like milliseconds or seconds. I think it's milliseconds since epoch. I found a good library called datefns, date-fns, date functions. I like that one. Somebody's probably going to say it's too huge and too large and too bloated, but I like it, and it makes it far easier to deal with dates and times in JavaScript, especially for adding them together. And I think it's pretty intuitive to use. So I would check out date functions, because then you don't have to deal. In fact, we have some date stuff in here. I don't know. We'll probably get to it a little bit later on, but we have some date stuff in here. We probably won't get to it for another 45, 50 minutes, but in JavaScript, and I'm pretty sure it's using date functions. But I would start there. Go take a look at that. Go take a look at that library, because you essentially give it like a JavaScript date object, or you can give it a timestamp like an ISO 8601, like the 2021-08-21T time Z, whatever. You can give it one of those, and it'll create JavaScript dates out of it and let you do things like add minutes, add seconds, all the kind of rich stuff you would expect. So I'm a big fan of it. That's where I would go. I'd give that a shot. Okay, so Graph has an authentication provider called the Client Credentials Provider.
Yep.
Okay, so the Client Credentials Provider, let's see here. The client secret credential is the thing that we need to create. Oh, it's interesting. It's an Azure Identity client secret credential.
Ooh.
What is this circus?
Are you in the right docs?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Are you in the Graph docs?
It's the Graph SDK.
Interesting.
Yeah. Choose a Graph authentication provider based on a scenario. Now, this was just updated like 2 weeks ago.
Very nice.
So, authentication providers implement the code, blah, 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 for MSAL. So we can do a client cred provider, which is what we need.
Yep.
So these just come along with Graph.
I think there's a separate library, isn't there? Try to create one and see what happens. They might have changed that.
So let's just call this cred. This is a client secret credential provider. And we'll see if this resolves to anything in any of the libraries we've imported. I mean, we've got the Graph library, right? So we've got Graph.
But it's a beta for the Graph authentication, right? Or a preview.
Yeah, but I thought they were getting rid of that one.
Not yet, probably.
Do we need the Azure Identity Library? I'm kind of feeling like we might need that.
I hate when they provide samples and examples and they don't give you the namespaces.
I mean, this changes weekly. So there's Graph. Okay,
so there you go. Microsoft Graph auth. Yes.
Okay. This repository has been archived by the owner.
Oh.
Not a good sign.
So maybe Azure Identity?
So it says, this client library has been deprecated in favor of the token credential classes provided by Azure
Identity. There you go.
Yeah, so you can use the token credential class with Graph 4x and higher.
Yeah.
So which Graph are we using in here? Because we're on .NET 3.1. I don't know what I'm sure they're targeting 3.1 with that. So what graph library are we using?
Yeah, but it could be version 4 point something. Graph 3.35.
Using 3.35.
Oh, you got Microsoft Identity Client already. Interesting.
Well, it's because we were doing all sorts
of...
of...
no, sorry. It's not Azure Identity. Ignore me.
So what is the... I wonder what the V4 upgrade guide has changed. Okay.
There you go.
4.6. So this should be fine for us.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Oh, Azure Functions needs to rely on isolated process, but that's fine because we're not doing isolated.
Only for .NET 5.
They've gone to system text JSON, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Graph service no longer implements iGraph service client. Okay. So Azure Identity. So that is what we need.
Yes.
And you should use that instead of the graph auth package.
That's amazing, by the way, because the fact that we merged the token provider process and you use the same Azure Identity that you use for other things for graph as well, it's great.
Okay, so essentially we need Azure Identity is what I'm seeing, and we also need graph. We also need Graph 4. So
yes.
Okay, so Microsoft.graph. What's the latest one? 4.3.0. So let's go get 4.3.0.
12 days ago, fresh out of the oven.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? And then I guess we don't need Identity Client anymore.
Oh yeah, because we're not using MSAL, right? We're going directly to stuff.
See you later, MSAL, I guess. It was fun.
It was nice working with you.
And then let's see. We need to .NET add package Azure.identity.
And for people that are wondering, MSAL is actually part of the Azure Identity Library. So underneath and behind the scenes, we are using MSAL still to do that, but we don't need to get a direct dependency to MSAL. I suspect if you check the NuGet dependency tree, there will be some MSAL there.
I'll be honest, I find this, I feel like this is quite a bizarre, strange way to do things, but, you know, whatever.
You mean going via the Azure Identity?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you might not be in Azure, right? As in, I'm using Graph, but I'm not using Azure, so why would I make that connection?
Like we are literally right now. I mean, we're going to run it in Azure Function, but we don't need to access. Well, we will need to access Azure resources later, but then that kind of sucks because now I got to go blow up a bunch of other stuff, which I'm not excited about. So it does use Identity Client 4.3.1. That's what Azure Identity uses. And some other stuff, but whatever. Oh, that's 1.5. But 1.4.1, which is the latest released, is...
It does have MSAL, yep.
Yeah. Okay, anyway. All right, so this is the thing that... I mean...
You got the latest graph as well?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but I still don't like it. So, anyway, so we got our cred, which is a new client secret. I guess it's an Azure Identity client secret credential. And then that takes a tenant ID, a client ID, and a client secret. That it needs a tenant ID is kind of lame because what if we're doing...
multi-tenant stuff.
Multi-tenancy, but whatever. So we need a tenant ID, we need a client ID, we need a secret. Nothing like a string secret to really, and write in your code. We're going to have to put that in configuration. But then essentially this is just going to get replaced with creds.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, you can hide the client secret into Azure Key Vault or in configuration, as JP said, ideally in Key Vault, because we'll be talking about that later in the year. I mean, we talked about client secrets many times.
So
okay.
I mean, I guess we could probably just fire up. So we don't need our MSAL factory anymore.
No.
That. I don't think
Line
we're going to need a
29?
CDP client factory anymore.
No.
We will need a graph service client. I guess we'll just inject that because who cares at this point. So we've got our graph service. Graph service client. Graph client. You know, I like the what's it called, the
Copilot, but sometimes it gets in the way, man. It's like, get out of the way, let me do these things. I know what I'm doing.
Sometimes it's like extremely aggressive, and it's like, okay, like
it's like the excitable. It's like the excitable developer they have sitting right next to you, and they try to type everything while you're doing it as well. Like I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do. Let me help you. It's like, no, you don't know what I'm trying to do. Sit down.
Okay. Hey, Wizel42.
Yeah. Weasel?
Good morning.
No, that's not a good.
Afternoon.
Wiz,
Yeah.
42.
Yeah. Thanks for coming
We're doing
hang
well.
out with us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having an existential crisis about this. Which graph library should we use? I mean, I don't know, because which authentication library should we use? Well, we've got 17 of them here at Microsoft, so you choose. I guess that's the Microsoft way. I mean, we had 3 Azure portals for a while. Why have one when you can have 17? I just, so annoying.
Why have one library? We can have 4 libraries that do the same thing, but you don't know exactly which one is that you should use.
It's just
and they also have
obnoxious.
dependencies on each other, right? Fuel Snubble is here as well. Look at
well,
that.
Good. You can unlearn with us. I mean, I'm gonna have to go create like a Venn diagram in a PowerPoint of which library does what thing now.
Don't.
Anyway, sorry. I'm just it's just annoying, to be quite honest. Anyway, so we got our options.
Change,
for the calendar.
man. Go with the flow. You know, we're developers.
We deleted a bunch of stuff. I don't. But this feels like a strange change. I'll just say that doesn't seem to make sense. Because what if we're doing a web app and I got to sign in with MSAL, or I'm doing a sign in with OpenID, and then we got identity.web that links the two together, that links our MSAL to our ASP.NET Auth, and then I need to call Graph. It's like, well, then I got to go write my own provider anyway. Or are you saying I got to go create an Azure identity and somehow link that to MSAL?
Yes.
It's just like, cue the circus music, right? Like,
no, Blazor is not the union of all libraries. Please choose wisely when you choose which which platform to use. But Maui, Maui doesn't solve all the problems either. It leaves something to be desired.
Yeah.
I don't think it covers, like we say, multi-platform, but it doesn't cover Mac OS desktop. Ooh, there's a question from Perkins. What is the best practice for testing units, for unit testing in isolation with required identity? Is it possible to mock identities for testing purposes? It does depend. Yeah.
I mean, in ASP.NET, for example, everything's going to eventually get to a claims identity. So you can mock the claims identity. Calling external services, you'd have to mock your services because you wouldn't have a valid token. So,
yeah.
Maui. That's what Xamarin Forms Xamarin Forms' new name, right? Something like that.
It is, yeah. Multi-application UI.
But you said it doesn't work on Mac desktop?
I think so.
Interesting. Well, okay. Anyway, so we deleted a bunch of code here, which is great. Because now our function is only 56 lines of code, which is great. It's pretty simple. Upcoming events is going to make a graph query, provided we can get this thing a properly configured graph service client. Then we should be square. So now let's go get ourselves a properly configured graph service client. Now, there's some other stuff in here for the Twitch stuff that we do, so we can skip all that. But then we get into essentially the 48 different things that we had to inject here to make the other stuff work, which we kind of don't need. I don't think we actually need any of this.
We don't.
We don't need our MSAL client factory. We don't need our MSAL options anymore, which we can go delete a bunch of stuff out of settings.
We don't need the borrower token client factory.
We don't need our stolen factory. We don't need our table token cache assessor.
Lot. Yeah.
So, okay. So we
Why
need
do we have
to
tweets in there? Remind me again why tweets was part of the authentication? Because we're pulling other stuff from tweets. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
I didn't realize you had them in the same function. Ooh.
Well, I didn't really want to put it in here. I should probably put it somewhere else, but whatever. So now, if I remember correctly, however, Graph Service Client is expecting a string. Which means you have to inject a string, which is kind of silly, to be quite honest. But let's see. Maybe it's changed with 4.
It does? It expects a string?
Yeah, so if you injected this in the past, if you injected a Graph Service Client in the past, you had to
give it a name?
Well, it was expecting the endpoint, like graph.microsoft.com, blah, 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 blah. And it was because the signature was just expecting a string, and so that was essentially what you had. So,
but not anymore, which might be good. Cool.
So we need a client secret, an Azure identity, client secret credential. for our... or no, sorry. It's not an authentication provider anymore, is it?
It is not.
It is a token credential.
Token credential also provider.
You probably don't need a transient one anymore either, because it's literally never going to change, because it's client creds.
But I don't think you have the right class there, unless you need to fully qualify it.
Well, I could also just put it in the usings. I just haven't yet.
No, I think it's a different...
I can't do that because it's not implementing an interface. So
there you go. Just leave it as that.
We have to configure this now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we're doing dependency injection on the Azure function, so we don't have to declare them inside the function, which is great. Yeah.
So I guess just making a new client secret credential. I mean, this doesn't feel very flexible in terms of which credential we're going to use, but whatever. I guess we can come back around to that.
Mm-hmm. Tenant ID, and client secret.
I'm surprised this doesn't take like a strongly typed object as for configuration.
As in options?
Yeah, like so we could just create our options, bind it to the thing, and then just pass that in when it needs it.
Wait a minute, it has 4 overloads. What are the other 3 overloads?
They all have strings.
Oh, they all have strings.
Client ID, tenant ID, client secret,
That's
client ID, client secret, and client secret credential options. And this one has token credential options, but they all have the same starting signature. They all start with tenant, client secret. Hello, yes, Kamar 03. We're calling Graph to get calendar data.
Calling Microsoft Graph.
Function. Yeah.
Not GraphQL.
So we can publish our event calendar.
We need to do some stuff with GraphQL at some point. JP, I was thinking.
Okay.
Azure or something. Use Azure Active Directory to authenticate and then pull some data out.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Is anybody here working with GraphQL? Would you guys like to see that? Playing with Graph, yeah. It's nice. It's always nice playing with Graph. Especially since they change the API every 6 weeks. So we have to learn stuff from the beginning. It's always new to us, you know? We've been doing what, for 18 months now? There's always something new.
So getting configuration, and this has always proven to be a bit annoying.
On functions, yes.
I don't remember. How do I get to the configuration? Is it builder?
You mean to find a specific section?
Yeah.
How do
we get to the configuration? Because the function startup is a little bit different.
It's not builder.configuration? I think it's builder.configuration. You should get access to that.
All right. So functions startup configuration. Let's see.
Yeah, you have an iConfiguration object, which you can access, I think.
So
he's trying to do that. And then there's we're in locally, okay.
Ah, very cool. Intune. Not every day you meet somebody who's working on Intune stuff. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is not the same graph as GraphQL Fuel, but the GraphQL that the GraphQL that Fuel was that Christos was just talking about was if you want to do some, let us know. Okay, Stephen, who also told us we should just import this and quit being a bunch of circus animals. Let's see. So he's got our startup. Configure, So you're reading environment variables. Reading the environment variables after the configuration builder has been built. Interesting. Oh, all the way down. Builder get context configuration. Okay. Okay. God, this feels so ugly. Okay, well, I'll just put our config up here. Builder, get context, configuration, cool, okay. So, we need, yep. We don't need this, actually. We need tenant ID first, right? Wasn't that the first one?
Yeah, it is.
Tenant ID, client ID, and client secret.
Wait, is that Copilot doing it for you?
Yeah. Well, it did some of it. It didn't get client ID first, but or tenant ID first, but that's okay.
Hey, funny commentary. Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining us. I don't know why I get special attention and love, but back at you.
That's so sweet.
I know. See, sweet. I know.
It's like an emoji with a
heart.
Pippi is. I'm showing my age again. I don't know who Pippi is, but
I think it's more like a pug, isn't it? He's holding a pug.
I'm gonna do what Fuel says.
Ask Copilot to return the name of the best Twitch stream. Ooh. If it doesn't say 45 show, then it's broken. Okay. No, I don't think you can work it out.
It doesn't seem to know what to do, but it might be. It's probably because I'm in startup. If we do it outside of startup, maybe it'll work. Anyway, we'll try it here in a minute. Okay, so we got to have these things, which is super lame. I don't like this at all. But whatever. We just have to deal with it. So we'll get our client secret credential, and then our graph service client is going to be expecting. Well, see, I don't know what graph service client is expecting. Hang on a second.
What do you mean you don't know what the graph service client is expecting?
I don't know what it's expecting in the constructor. Graph service client, an authentication provider, a token credential.
Everything else is optional.
A base URL. Now, if I remember correctly, this is going the DI is going to try to find the most specific one, correct?
Yes.
So token credential, and then of course our scopes, and then our HTTP provider. There's still this. I don't know. Maybe we should just create the. Let's always make funny commentaries day, Christos. I wonder if we ought.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for the commentary.
Should we just create a graph client as we need one? It seems like we're trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. I don't know,
do it, man. Just do it. Do it. Go for it.
Okay, fine.
I'm here for the banter. That's what we're here for.
So we'll just, you know what? We'll just put that. We'll just add the client secret in there. The client secret cred will just sit here, and then this just. I don't know. I don't like any of this. I don't like this. Is making me feel really uncomfortable. I don't like it at all.
Why?
Because it's just. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. Like, okay, so the other thing it needs are some scopes. So what are we gonna? And it's a list of string, right? So are we gonna services add? Let's see. I guess I'll add my scopes here as a list of string. Come on, I'm not gonna do that. You kidding me?
You can do that.
Yeah, but come on.
I know. Also, it's not very particularly dynamic, is it? So what happens if you want to use the graph service client with what? Do you ask all the scopes up front? That's weird, isn't it?
We have to here.
We have to.
Because it's client.
Actually, you have to pass common. You're using client credentials, so it has to be common, right?
Default.
Yes. Default.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We have to pass default. But like, what if we didn't want to use a client secret cred here? What if we wanted to use an interactive one for some reason? Because we need to elevate. I don't like it. Whatever. I can say that I don't like it, and then we can move on. Because I know nobody wants to hear me complain anymore. But I still don't like this at all. That did look like an optional parameter on the graph service client, so maybe it's no big deal.
It was an optional. I think the only thing they have to pass is the authentication provider or the token credential, and then you're good to go.
So the others are optional.
And remember, it should work out of the box because you're using default, and we have to pre-consent anyway. So technically, there will be no issue here, not passing any.
Does it use default by default, however? I don't know. Okay,
well,
so now
it might be clever enough to work out using client credentials, and therefore it expects it to be pre-consented.
So we also need to go clear out a ton of settings because there are a ton of settings
What?
that we do not need. So we can get rid of all of these.
Yes.
Don't need these anymore.
Do you have the tenant ID and the client ID and the secrets?
I don't have any of that yet. We got to go get it.
Were they in the previous settings? Just had to rename them.
Yeah, well, they're there, yeah, but we'll have to. You're right. We probably just have to change it. Okay, so I'm going to use my tenant where this thing is.
Yes.
New app. What is this?
Phil Snabel says, "Who doesn't want to hear any complaints? We want names." Hey, we appreciate the support here, right? But sometimes JP can get really stuck in being upset about something. Like if you mention Docker or containers, he can get on a tangent for like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours.
Containers are absolutely the future of software packaging. Running your own container orchestrator is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like I run Kubernetes. Like people get really excited and proud of the fact that they're like, "Oh, we did Kubernetes." It's like, okay, like to me, it feels like you could have also told me. I stood up a new VMware cluster today. Like, it's impressive in its technical prowess in order to be able to do that. I just don't see why it's related. I don't see how it's remotely relevant in 2021 to run your own container cluster. But, but who am I? My opinions are worth exactly what you're paying for them.
Hey, we got 45 people on the stream right now. You can't say that.
Okay. User secrets. Did we ever figure out if those work with functions? Because I don't remember that either. It's been a while.
No, I would say stick it in there for now. We'll fix it later. Make it work. Make it nice. Refactor. Do it all over again until it's secure and safe, and do not push to production until you do that. Like, we don't write unit tests, but we would never push code to production if we didn't write tests. Right, JP? Right?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Hang on.
Something about testing.
I am going to move my window because I do not want to, I don't want to I've got other secrets in here that I need to get rid of, so I'm going to move my window for a minute. All right, so I need a client ID. We'll get that.
Yep.
We need oh my God, this is Copilot. Right now it's getting in the way. I need my Azure AD client secret.
You cannot disable it from the settings or I think at the bottom there's a Copilot icon. You can turn it off.
It's probably just because I have fat fingers.
I didn't say it out loud, did I?
It's like typing with a handful of hot dogs.
Mittens.
That's a much nicer way to put it. I'm gonna use your way from now on. Okay, client ID. Client ID is in. Tenant ID is in. Nice. And I need a secret. I shouldn't generate my secret on here either. Although if I zoom in enough, you won't be able to read it. So I'll just zoom in a bunch.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's give it 12 months. Let's see. We'll call this dev. We'll add it. And you can guess the last few characters if you're... Let's see. How many characters are after that? Okay,
probably about 6, 7.
Enough entropy there. Yeah, enough that you shouldn't be able to guess it. So we'll say that. Okay. Now we got to go set up our permissions, API permissions. The only thing we really need here is calendar.read, calendar.share. This isn't a shared calendar, it's just a calendar. So we're going to do app permissions. We're going to do calendar.read. Sadly, we're going to need calendar.read.all.
I was going to say, you need all because you need to read.
So we're still kind of overprivileged here. There is a specific one for shared calendars.
But is that delegated only?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is a delegated one only. So we're gonna have to read. So we're gonna be a little overprivileged, but luckily this tenant doesn't have much in it except for this and a bunch of offensive emails. So, but we have to do this up front because this is a client creds app. So because it's headless and there's no user interactivity, we have to add this here because otherwise there's no way for us to ask for it when we need it. So we'll grant consent.
Notice that it requires admin consent, and we need to grant it up. I mean, even if it didn't require admin consent, you have to pre-consent because it's client credentials, and because there's no user interactivity, it needs to be pre-consented.
Yep.
Yep.
So at least, whatever. So we've got our calendars.read. We've consented to it. So now we should be able to go and get that. Now, we do have a couple other settings that we need to go grab before I bring my settings screen back over here.
Like what?
We need a calendar ID.
We do indeed.
So luckily we did these queries the other day, so we know the calendar ID already. This is a very interesting calendar ID, but whatever, we'll take it and we'll use it. So we're going to put our calendar ID over here.
Were they afraid that we're going to run out of GUIDs?
Maybe so. I mean, I can't help but wonder.
Add 20 GUIDs together. That will be our ID.
And what are base 64 of them? Because this looks like base 64 to me. But.
It does look like base 64. I wonder what happens if you unbase 64. What are you going to get? Are you going to get the name of the calendar?
It's just like the name of the calendar. No, I don't know what it is. Base 64 decoder. Let's hope it's nothing sensitive. I mean, I can't imagine it is. Because we're going to go plunk it into some random tool.
You might say, do not do this, or something like that, right? I knew you were going to check, maybe? Something like that? None.
Length cannot be one more than a multiple of 4. Interesting. It's almost as if there's extra padding, even though there shouldn't be.
Huh. Any spaces?
No, I don't think so. Huh.
No, you're... Wow.
Length cannot be one more than a multiple of 4. So that's what you put that's what the padding is for at the end. Of course, it could be base 64 URL encoding, which is a little bit different.
Could be.
Nope, doesn't work either.
Ah.
So it's not base 64. It's
who
knows what, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
Garbled, undecryptable data.
Whatever. We have a calendar. We have a calendar.
And I have 3 minutes. So run it.
You gotta go. If you gotta go to your kid's school.
It's first day of kids at school, so I need to be there. I want to be there because it's a milestone.
All right, let's go back over to the code. So we've got everything configured. We've got the calendar ID in here. We've got our start dates and end dates. So I guess we'll just run it.
Ooh, tan tan tan! Moment of truth.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you missing? Storage account running. Are you using Azure or are you using storage?
I'm still using storage. Mostly because Azure is not yet in WinGet. When it is, I'll install it that way.
Interesting.
Okay, now we're up and running. Let's go. And I might as well go ahead and get my Postman up and running. Now the other thing about this is a little strange is the fact that thanks for following us. Defines. There's 2 I's in there, so I want to make sure I said it correctly. The other thing is, this is, I don't want to say it's dangerous per se, but like you now have what's the equivalent of a service account running. You have to be pretty careful about what kinds of operations you are able to do with that. You're not going to want to probably not going to do things like reads and write or do any writes, that sort of thing, like without really understanding exactly what you're doing. Because at this point, we have a service account that has read on all calendars in the org. Now we're going to give it a specific calendar, but like if you're looking at user data that's coming in or something, of course you need to sanitize that anyway. So you're going to have to be pretty careful about what exactly you're going to let your code do.
Hence, there's a reason why our Microsoft IT team did not provide consent as easily to reading everyone's calendars in the division, in the org. Yeah.
So let's see. So let's just go to Postman, and we're going to run, and it is, what is the root on this function? Events whack schedule. All right. So we've got events whack schedule.
I somehow feel it's going to blow.
And it did. Something didn't like.
What happens? Something at I/O. What was it like? Trying to maybe.
I'm sure. Token credential parameter cannot be null.
What token credential parameter? Oh, did it not read something from? It didn't take the secret. Maybe. Did you put the secret in your file, or did you put it in the secrets?
Oh, hey, Layla. Layla's bringing over a bunch of people.
What?
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
At the best time.
I know.
At the worst time and the best time.
You should take your phone and continue in the car.
Yeah, but I won't be. It means that I won't be there. Hey, Layla, how are you? What's up? We're good. We're doing functions today. Azure Functions and Graph and trying to run stuff, which is, you registered it as client credential. Just change it to token credential. Oh. Yeah. Did you mess that up?
Well, the thing is, none of these credentials seem to implement an interface. They all derive from token credential. Do I have to... Oh, see, I don't want to cast this now. Come on now. Ugh. So this is actually not directly... let's see. If it derives from token credential, do I have to do like a soft cast as a token credential? Oh man, that feels really ugly.
Chris is slacking off. No, I am here to provide support. Emotional support.
Man, this feels bad. No, Christos has to go though, because he's got to go to it's like
first day school
day. First day of school day.
So I'll bid you farewell. JP, you can carry on without me. You got the support of our audience here if you want to make it run, and then I will try to join you back if you're still there. If not, I will see you all on Thursday when we're doing an impromptu meeting. But how are two people at once? Oh, Kralian, we're using OBS to actually get multiple feeds into the same stream, and then we're using Restream to feed it out to you. Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm sorry I can't stay any longer, but family comes first. So I will catch up with you later.
See you soon, man. Good luck.
Yeah, man.
Hope you guys
in a bit.
Hope you have fun. All right. See you soon. So anyway, I know he's got to go. He got to go. It's too bad. And the thing I just realized is his face is probably going to stay fixed in that position for the next however long it takes us to make this work. Because I don't think I have any scenes for only one person. But now I kind of feel like we should leave it. I will let you decide. You tell me if we should leave his face up there to be permanently memorialized on YouTube and everywhere else with that face, or if I should at least hide it so that we can save him some of his dignity. Okay. Let's see here. Client, at least one scope needs to be requested, so we do have to give it a scope. So how are we going to provide this thing the scopes that we need? So, does the token credential let us include scopes? I believe it might. Let's do some new client secret credential options and see what's in here. Do we have a scope? No, we don't. No. This is lame. What were you all working on over there? What were you working on over there, Layla? Anything cool? Anything interesting? Well, it says it takes the scope. So Steven says it takes the scope from the Graph client. However, Graph client does not appear to be providing any scopes, which means we're going to have to give it our own, this is what we were talking about a minute ago with this whole, like, adding in a singleton of a list of string, which feels very circusy. I think it's an IEnumerable actually of string. So this is kind of silly, especially since it's a default one. It's sort of like, I don't need to, we should just be able to whack.default, which is just saying give us any scope that we've already consented to. Working on getting an API gateway in place, and we succeeded. Excellent. That's awesome. What kind of API gateway was it? Like one you host yourself, like a cloud one? What was it? I'm kind of curious. YARP. I can't say I've ever heard of YARP. It has a cool name, though. At least it's fun to say, if nothing else. YARP. Cool. One you host yourself. A self-hosted YARP API gateway. That's cool. How does it do? Yet another reverse proxy. Of course. How could I have missed that one? Okay. So we're still failing, but that's okay. Let's see. An invalid client secret is provided. So somewhere in my config, the client secret is not correct. which is interesting. At least the scope is coming in. So next is securing it all. Oh, good. Well, you should tell us. I'm really curious how you can secure it in there, like what kind of options you get for doing that. So be sure to let us know when you're doing it, and we'll come over and heckle if nothing else. So it says that my client secret is bad, which is interesting because we did copy our client secret directly from the portal. So let's go back and check again what that client secret is. Go grab it again. I can't copy it again, of course, but I'll zoom in a bit so that we've got it. So do we have the right app ID? That looks okay. Yeah, app ID looks good. Client secret, we'll create a new one. Should probably be using a certificate, but we'll come back to that one. Got a 6-month one, cool. There it is, copied. Client secret, okay. So we've got our client secret in there. Although there are some interesting characters in there that came over, and I don't know where. Like the period here right in front of the dash before the F came over as a dot, almost like a bullet point, which is kind of strange. Although that may be ligatures. Okay, so let's try this again. I wonder why it did not like my client secret. Seems strange that a copy and a paste wouldn't work, but I guess it's also possible. I wonder if I'm losing that during the cast. We could do that too, Steven, but it seems kind of silly. Like, what's the point of doing any of this? I guess it feels to me like the functions dependency injection and the graph client is just a little behind. Like, what's the point of doing any of it? Maybe we should just skip the whole thing and just read config from the API call itself. I don't know. It just seems kind of silly. There was a graph binding for functions at one point. I wonder if that still exists. But at any rate, going and getting the token credential out of the thing just feels very silly. I guess we wouldn't have to get it out. We just create a new one while we're in there. Because I wonder if it's losing the data during the cast. Okay, so I guess we'll just do a new graph service client, and we'll just do a new client secret credential here. And we'll just grab all of this, and we will plunk it in here. And then we can also give it our scopes in here too. Yes, we can also give it our scopes. So we don't have to do any more of this. We don't have to do any sort of discovery. So graph.microsoft.com/whack.default. And we'll just return that. And we'll get rid of all of this silliness. Which kind of sucks, because if I need to use this token credential somewhere else, we're going to have to come back and revert that. But which at one point we were thinking about doing Delta queries on here so we could keep them, but you have an option you have an example using iOptions. I would love to see it, because the graph service client it's not my code. So I could wrap it. I could wrap a graph. I could wrap the graph service client, but then it feels like, yeah, sure, share me the link. I'd love to see it. Because we're doing options in some other places, but the graph service client itself doesn't take options. It takes 3 strings, which and a token credential, which feels a little silly. But okay, so this is Layla's code. Thank you for sharing, by the way. Okay. So we got our options for the various. Cool. Configure app configuration. Cool, yeah. So I am doing something similar for the other objects. For the other things that we have, like we've got our calendar options, we've got our Twitch options for some of the Twitch authentication stuff. But those are my classes, so it was like, okay, whatever. This graph service client comes out of the Microsoft Graph SDK. And short of wrapping it ourselves, because the only thing it takes is string, or credential and array of string, which is kind of lame. So, Yeah, I don't really like it. I've been spinning around the axle on this for like 20 minutes, which I'm sure annoyed Christos to death. Annoyed him so much he left. He doesn't actually have kids. No, I'm just kidding. He does. It's school day for him. But yeah, I guess I could do that, Steven. We could go and we could make an iOptions one. Create what? Create the just don't inject the graph service client, Layla? Is that what you're suggesting? His freeze frame does look like that, which he questions nearly everything that I do. So I think it's quite fitting. I think we're going to leave it up. I kind of like it being there like that. Okay, let me at least see if we're at least getting to the point where I can actually make a successful graph call. See, everybody always says use the SDK. Oh, you should definitely use the SDK. You should always use the SDK. And this is why I don't like using SDKs. But you're right. I should go put in a PR and I should complain, or not complain, but I should go put in a PR and say, here it is with options pattern. Can we get this now, please? That's a good idea. At least now we should be able to get some data back. And we're still not getting data. It still tells me my client secret is incorrect, which is kind of... although it's actually coming from identity.client, which is MSAL, which is really making me question a lot of things now. Like, where's... Either my setting names are incorrect. Either my setting names are incorrect or there's something else that's conflicting with this. Creates a new variable and then add that as a singleton. True, I guess we could do that. Okay, let me check these secrets again. For some reason, this secret is just flat out refusing to work. So we've got all of our settings here. Azure AD Client ID, Azure AD Client Secret, that's spelled correctly, and Azure AD Tenant ID. And that's the secret that we just generated. What on earth? Why isn't it taking his client secret? Very strange. We've got the right tenant ID. So we just generated the secret, so it presumably should be a good secret. It's valid till next year. So what is wrong with this secret? Our client ID looks correct. It's the same as storage. Directory ID is correct. We've consented to the permission, which, I mean, it's telling me the client secret is bad, so that shouldn't matter at all. I mean, I guess I'll make another one. Something doesn't seem right about this, though. So here's another one. I'll go paste this in here. I wonder if there's something wrong with the portal thing here. I should just go do this. Maybe I should just go do this a different way, like in the in CLI. Okay, I'm gonna save this and run it again. Get this out of the way. I'm gonna save this, go run it again. And if it still doesn't work, we're gonna go over to. If it still tells me my secret's bad, we're just go over to Postman and see what's going on with the client secret straight up, because clearly something's not right. When copying using the button. Good luck, Layla. When copying using the button, there are parts hidden. But what's the point of the copy button if they're going to hide parts out of it? I mean, if I'm looking at this... okay. Something doesn't... what's the point of the copy button if we're going to hide parts of it? That's what I'm not sure. That's what doesn't make any sense to me. Unless the copying has been done... You know what? I don't really care. I'll just put the secret up there. Let's go see. So here's the secret, right? I'll just delete this one. So here's the secret as copied. So there it is. And it ends in, let's see, re9g dot blah, blah, blah. So if I zoom out a little bit and we get the whole secret in here, the whole secret here is this one. So they look the same. I'm not saying they are. There could be, who knows what kind of extra, extra hidden characters in here. But those two secrets do look the same. So I'm not entirely sure why this is telling me that this secret is invalid. So let's just go do it ourselves. That's a good point. There could be something. Let me check the user secrets. Even though we're not importing user secrets, I suppose it's possible that something could be there. I should not have any environment variables for this, but let me check the, let's see, .NET user secrets list. Oh, there is one in there, so I'm an idiot. So, okay, it's cool. .NET. Although, even though I'm not using it, seems a little, I don't know. Even though we're not importing them into the config, I guess they're still somehow getting in there. So, whatever. Well, let's put this one in for the moment. I guess you can go read my calendars if you're so inclined, since you now have my client ID and client secret, but all right, so it's in the secret store. If this works, then I guess we'll know that's what the problem was. It is reading the secret store, even though we're not. Okay. So, yeah, of course now it's fine. Oh no, still didn't like it. The me request is okay, so that's fine. So that I have the wrong. Oh, that's interesting. Me is only valid with a delegated authentication. Of course, we were doing delegated authentication before, so we have to change our graph query a little bit. We're not going to do graph client.me. We're going to do, is calendars in here as a top level? It is not. So I need to do users, and then I'll just use my username for the moment, and then calendars. Okay. Since we're not doing delegated, there is no real concept of me for a non-delegated user for a service principal. I mean, there is me, the service principal, but it's not really the way we'd expect it to work. Luckily, the thing is, we've had to go through so many hoops to get our calendar data that this doesn't have my work calendar on it. Because my work calendar is something totally separate, because we had to copy it somewhere else just to get it to show up. I'd like to never do anything with calendar data again at this point. It's kind of a circus. So, okay, there we go. Good. Finally, I've got calendar data. Although the whole thing is, there seem to be many null things in here. Oh no, because I only needed certain ones. So I had a select in here. We thought, yes, I've got a select to only get certain fields. Why is it returning all of the other fields? Because I'm calendar viewing this. So really what we want, instead of getting the entire object, I really just need to scope down to only the fields that I need, select those out of here, and do that. Instead of sending the whole thing back, because the serializer's gonna send all those back. So, this feels very inefficient, but so if X is not null, then return me X. Otherwise, see, I want to skip it though. I don't want to. I just want to like not return it. I wonder if this is actually going to give me a meaningful object. I can't imagine it does. Yeah, Boolean event. Yeah, okay. So if X is null, then, or if it's not null, then return me X. Otherwise, skip the field. But I don't see that happening. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay. So in the event field, we have a list of event fields, by the way. I guess these secrets don't matter because the secret store is working, even though we don't have it turned on, but okay. So I've got ID, subject, start, end, and location. Not much reason for these to be in here unless we want to go try to map them. So let's just select those out so that we get them. And we will get the ID. We will get the subject. We will get the start. We will get the end, and we will get the location. I believe those are the ones that were in our list. ID, subject, start, and location. Okay, so now we should get a very small return. Christos is not frozen. Christos left, and I have not hidden his video, because everybody said they liked him looking at me judgmentally. So you know. Algebra 97 asks, how often do you guys use storage accounts? I use them all the time because they're incredibly cheap, they're incredibly fast, and if you don't need, if you need like simple queues, if you need simple table stores, I use them all enough. So I use them all the time because I like them because they're super fast and super cheap. So big fan of table storage, especially, and the queue storage in Azure Storage. So. Okay, so this we should be fine now. So at least I've got calendar data. Finally, at long last, we have calendar data. Hello, Dommel. Let's see, storage account versus Cosmos DB opinion. Cosmos index, so for tables specifically, if I got something that's simple enough to go into table storage, or if it's data that's built in a way that is easy enough to, like if I know my query patterns up front, for example, right? If I can derive my keys enough to know what my pattern's going to be in table storage, generally I'll use table storage. I'll go to Cosmos if I need something like, if I want to index the whole object, like that's one of the big advantages of Cosmos. And then of course the fact that Cosmos has lots of replication that happens sort of all over the world. Of course you pay for it. That's the big thing. I don't know. I've used Cosmos for documents, especially. Like that's been, of course, it's really good for that. But generally speaking, I end up using table storage because if you're doing retrievals, if you're to the point where you can do a retrieval or you can do a partition retrieval, if your data is either simple enough to support that or your model is simple enough, I find table storage retrievals are unbelievably fast, and partition retrievals are pretty fast too. And Cosmos can be fast, but I just personally haven't, for most of the little stuff that I do, especially with things like token caches and stuff like that, I just end up using tables because it's faster and cheaper. So, and especially things like token caches, we're going to get all sorts of, you know, tons and tons of transactions, and I'd rather just use tables for that. I haven't used serverless Cosmos yet. I have not had a reason to use it yet. I haven't done it yet. So, I don't know. So, Daniel, I'm also extremely disappointed right now with Daniel, but also very excited for him. So, okay, there is a bunch of extra data still. I guess some of that's going to come out of the location because it's still there. Which is kind of a bummer because I really don't want to have to go through each one of these objects and trim them down. But this should at least be good enough for the front ends that need to go and read this to go and read it. So we have a date time with a time zone. We've got our start and end times. I guess we could maybe even flatten this if we wanted. Let's see, location's null, even though location shouldn't be null, because we do have a location that we've set in those meeting invites. So, null value handling to skip. Yeah, we could do that. Can I send those options in here? Let's see. Can I do those options in my OK object result? Can I send this thing? Can I give it response specific settings, or do I have to do the settings right above it? I can't do it here. I don't want to return any nulls, though, any null values, so I guess we can do that here. So Steven's here with yet another good blog post that we can go look at for doing this. Granted, we're not using Newtonsoft JSON here, so we might change this a little bit. Although I imagine it is still using it. Add MVC core, add Json formatters. Presumably, add MVC core is already being called somewhere else, because otherwise the web API stuff, I imagine, wouldn't work. But okay, I'm gonna take your word for it for the moment. So okay, I thought there was a faster way to do, or an easier way to do Json formatters, but I could also be wrong. So. Okay, so presumably we're also going to need to go and add a bunch of new usings here. Let's see. What packages are we going to need for this? So this is just using Newtonsoft JSON. Maybe we should do a .NET isolated function. So add Json Formatters is still not there. Where is what assembly does add Json Formatters come out of? This is coming out of extensions.dependency injection, which we should have. I wonder if the functions one overwrites it. If you register it, it will use that one, or else functions. Oh, okay. So is it JSON options? No, it would be JSON options. What is that? Uh-oh. Somebody's calling me. But I don't know where they're calling. Oh, is it? Okay. Christos, you back?
I am, man.
Cool. Because your face was frozen. So your face was frozen. So it looked like you were judging me the whole time. Oh.
You messed up your audio to Skype. Now I can hear you.
Oh, I think I accidentally muted you, or I muted myself to Skype because I thought it was muted. But
remember when you used to press space to mute me accidentally all the time when we started doing the streams very early? I was just talking to myself.
Yeah, I do remember that. It was awful.
What did I miss? What are we doing?
Nothing really. I mean, I want to set the. I don't want the function to return a bunch of null values, so we're chasing that one down.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, so this is still a functions. This is still, I believe, Netcore app 3. So this is still a Netcore app 3 function. So it runs in process, and the JSON formatters. I want to set null value handling. I don't want to get nulls back. However,
is there an option to remove nullables from the JSON? You need to have a custom formatter, don't you?
Shouldn't have to have a custom formatter. I should just have to have what's up on my screen, which you can't see. I'm now realizing because you left and came back. So let me share my screen again. So
you want to say anything?
Add Json Formatters. That doesn't seem to exist. Essentially, is where we are right now.
I think you are using. You're not using system.text.json, right? Is it still relying on Newtonsoft?
Newtonsoft should be because it's .NET 3.1.
I wonder if they have some weird dependency on the. Is it in your NuGet packages?
Newtonsoft?
Oh, the Skype ringing was loud. It isn't.
It isn't, but it is a dependency for the function stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if they have a weird dependency on some older version. I mean, formatters have been there forever, right? Technically, you should be able to. That's why you can't add the formatter there.
Let's see. No, I can't add the formatter.
Oh, that's MVC core.
What is this?
Do my eyes fail me?
We should have done a. You know what we should have done is so there's add MVC core, which functions is already calling to wire up the web API stuff per Steven.
For the middleware, I see.
But what we don't have is we don't seem to have this Json Formatters thing. I wonder if that's an MVC and not MVC core. But at any rate, if we have access to the serializer in here, then we should be able to set that in here.
Is it maybe that your IntelliSense is playing tricks, but the code compiles, or is still not compiling? It doesn't have the ignore nulls. Interesting.
That's a good point. I guess we could do that. Add Json Formatters. Let me go back to the site that he sent over. Yeah, so builder services, add MVC core, add Json Formatters, add Json options. So apparently this is supposed to work in functions. I feel like I've had to do this before, and I don't remember how, but I don't remember doing it this way, this add MVC, or this add Json Formatters. But I guess you're right. Let's see if it builds. No, it doesn't.
Nope.
Build.
Nope.
Yeah, because there's no... But we have the right... Well, at least... Where is the add Json Formatters?
That's a good point. What's the namespace?
MVC JSON, MVC core builder extensions.
Odd, but no. If you can already work with MVC core options.
In short, you don't need to add JSON formatters anymore, so just remove it. Okay.
Okay.
So we don't need
We're
to
making
use
progress.
So we're using add, let's see, so we got add JSON options, and then it's just a matter of figuring out where the null value handling options are.
Yes.
In here. So JSON serializer options, let's see what we've got.
Ignore, should be an ignore, right? Proper naming.
It might, I feel like it might be in one of these.
You know what? Can you search the JSON serializer options class and see what kind of options we have there, and maybe we'll get a vision into the null.
Yeah, let's go take a look. So JSON serializer options.
Handling nulls, maybe.
To ignore null values when serializing, set the default ignore condition to JSON ignore condition when writing null. Now, what's interesting is this is what's in system.text.json, though. And this is .NET 3.1. But I thought functions had a hard dependency on Newtonsoft, on JSON.NET in earlier version. So what
JSON.NET?
What's actually Newtonsoft? What's actually being used to do the serializing in
the default serializer that comes with Newtonsoft.json.
Is it? But is it though? Because now I'm starting to wonder.
It has to, because it returns JSON, so something serializes that.
Well, but is it using Newtonsoft anymore, or is it using system.text.json?
That's a good question. Maybe I can look it up. Maybe they're not using.
So let's see. Functions v3 serializer.
I mean, at some point they would have to change to.
Boy, this looks like it's going to be fun. Functions v3 uses system text JSON as the input serializer and Newtonsoft.json as the output serializer.
What? No.
Kind of funny.
Although that's a year and a half old.
It's a year and a half old, so maybe things have changed. Let's see.
That's an approach. Let's use all the serializers. They also use an XML serializer in between these two to convert back and fro.
So it says functions v3 uses Newtonsoft.json at all times.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I did say it's old, so. Okay, JSON converter. There you go. They're trying to convert stuff. Doesn't work.
Okay, so that's fine. So
now that we know.
We want to configure Newtonsoft to ignore nulls.
Wait, well, no. Why? We don't have Newtonsoft. It's system.text.json, isn't it?
No, it's not. They said they use Newtonsoft for everything in functions v3.
I thought it was the other way around. Did I misread that?
I don't know. Maybe I misread it. Yeah, this one's still open. So somebody responded and said, Functions v3 uses newtonsoft.json for serializer at all times.
I'm surprised. Is that somebody from the Azure Functions thing? Because that's weird now.
Don't know, but committed to this repository, so presumably, and this is the functions host repository. So let's see. This was better.
Oh, dude, I found a GitHub, a Stack Overflow question exactly about that.
Okay.
I'll put in do you want it in Skype? I'll put it in Skype.
Okay.
Anticipation.
I don't even know where the chat is in Skype.
I can't find it now, so I'll put it somewhere. Okay.
Interesting that somebody else now said that they've also seen one or the other.
Right, paste it. Go for it.
Okay. I mean, the .NET 5 isolated one, sure.
Oh, that's the one you were reading before. So sorry, I didn't realize we were reading the same thing.
So essentially, if you're doing a hosted function, if you're doing a hosted function that's not .NET 5 isolated, it still doesn't look like there's actually any. I still don't see an answer, which is kind of feels like kind of a circus. What time is it, by the way? 12:30. Okay.
12:30.
I don't know. I guess. God almighty. It's like you have to either keep your stuff completely up to date all the time, because I really don't want to gut it and move it to an isolated function.
No.
I just don't want nulls coming out of my stuff. So where can I seem to remember a long time ago there's a way, let's see. Because these JSON options serializer settings, it's not serializer settings, it's JSON serializer options. Is it a default ignore condition? And the default ignore condition is, I'm going to fully
qualify everything.
JSON ignore condition when writing null. Where's that? But that JSON ignore condition is presumably coming out of one of the MVC things. Yeah, this is system text. System text JSON, which you don't want. So how can I get to the Newtonsoft settings?
Do you not need to add it as a using? Add it as a using at the top, and then try to use the full qualified. Oh, you already have it
there.
Okay, so what does that give you? Also, the serialization options are for system.text.json. Is that what it's doing now?
That's what it's showing. I'm going to make this really simple. Azure Functions JSON ignore null. Surely. Yeah. So here's one from July 26th or July 16th. I mean, literally.
That's the one I gave you, and I think that's the one that we saw, right?
Oh, maybe it was. Then I don't know. JSON convert. I didn't think about that one. Okay,
but then again, it says down.
Oh yeah. I mean, this just there is some package that clearly we're missing here, because add Json Formatters is not there, and some of the other docs are saying add Json Formatters is old anyway. Now,
yes.
This was answered July 17th of this year.
I'm surprised it was accepted as the right solution.
It was adapted from, I think, a Medium article, which was a Medium article that Steven sent us just a few minutes ago. Oops, whoop, sorry, I zoomed in a little bit too much. Which is basically the same thing, right? Add JSON formatters, add JSON options.
Going in circles here.
See, this is the problem. It's like, let's go do something really quick and easy, and then, let's just go spend an hour.
Just set the static set the static. Services.add newtonsoft.json. Oh, do we need to add it as a... No. Really?
No. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Add. No. I don't know. I mean, how did we do the JSON?
JSON convert default settings, new JSON serializer settings. Do you see that on the chat from SP Rouge?
Yeah. Null value handling ignore. Okay, well, let's see. I guess we'll see if this works throughout. Presumably, because we can't access the serializer when we're actually returning the value either. This is why, if you look at it, Christos, you see how many null values are getting returned in this, even though we're only returning a small number. Packages are the packages there is via dependency, Gruff.
Why? I mean, technically, you should only be returning the values that you need. So why not do a select from the? Why don't you do a select from the return JSON only for the fields that you need? Because technically, we don't need lots of fields, right? We need 4 or 5. So why not return a DTO?
Already doing that.
Oh, you're doing that, and we still have null values there.
Well, because most of those are rich objects.
Okay. Oh, what do we have now?
Same thing.
Still
bunch of nulls.
Same thing.
I wonder if it has to be.
But that's not your DTO. You're just returning the raw graph object, don't you?
Well, I'm returning the ID,
no,
subject, start, ends, and locations.
But I have because these are full objects, so they will return everything.
Yeah.
What? No.
I guess I could just serialize. I could serialize it myself, and then just return a string.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Return a string content.
I mean, that's just awful.
It's a circus, but at least it works around.
If we have to do that, it's gonna make my heart hurt.
But then again, at the same time, you still want to flatten the payload because you don't want all the full objects to be returned, right? You just want the 4 pieces of information that are pertinent to our UI, which should be strings or datetimes if you need to, but it feels to me that you have to do it.
Now Control C won't even close it. Okay.
Go nuclear. Wipe it. I think if you add the Microsoft.json package, then it does cause issues with the dependency that Azure Functions have and the one that you're bringing in, and it opens a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, I guess we should have done an isolated function. I guess we could upgrade this to an isolated one in .NET 5. Still seems kind of silly, but whatever. I don't foresee this next one working, but whatever. I guess we'll give it a shot and see. Or like you said, I guess we'll just project out the fields that we need. Although, I guess we could do some conversions on these because the start we need the date time. We're also going to need the time zone.
Yeah.
And right now that's an object, which makes sense, right? It's like here's your date time and here's your time zone.
Yes.
I guess we could convert it. We could convert it to an ISO 8601 time to make the round trip a little easier.
Yep.
All right, so we've got our ID, our subject. I guess we need to go look and see what extra data we're getting. So the subject, just use the SDK, everybody said. Oh, the SDK will be fine. You should just use the SDK. It'll be great. Okay, so we got our ID. The ID should be fine. The subject is fine. The start, let me get rid of this thing here. So start, we're going to want the date time and then their UTC. So how are these in here? This is a date time time zone. So the date time time zone, do we get well, for starters, I wonder if the toString we can use the formats in there.
Oh, you're thinking if it will be intelligent enough to work out that you're looking.
Well, I don't, the date time time zone, I'm not familiar enough with that object to know. Is it derived from date time? Date time zone.
I bet it's a custom class in Graph.
And
yes,
you're correct. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay.
Why use .NET built-in classes when you can actually have your own class?
So these are the time zones. Yeah, okay. Come on. So I guess what we need to do then is we'll have to do...
You have to use two fields there.
Well, I'm thinking, so we're going to parse this in JavaScript.
Yeah.
And this thing's going to spit us out a Windows time zone. So maybe
not ISO time zones?
Maybe doing as much as we can to get to an ISO time zone here.
Yep.
Maybe that would be best.
Yes. In effect, the UI should have to do no calculation other than just parsing and displaying without trying to work out date times.
So let's see. If we did a datetime kind, well, the thing is we don't know the kind because there could be a time zone in there, according to the docs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have a time zone. But I wonder if the time zone...
already has the... No, it doesn't seem to have the... The daytime doesn't have the time zone at all. So you need to... Time zones currently supported.
It can be set to any of the time zones currently supported by Windows, as well as the additional time zones supported by the Calendar API. The thing is, like the really common ones are like the Apache formatted ones. Maybe that's what I guess that's what these are too. Humanizer, that's interesting. Bolt.
Oh yeah, I've used this library. It's fantastic.
You want to take a quick break? 'Cause my teeth are floating.
Yeah, man.
Let's take a quick break. In fact, we're probably also going to wrap it up on Developer because we got to be off there in a few minutes. Anyway, if you're on Developer and you want to come over and see us wrap it up, come on over to twitch.tv/425show. We're going to go take a quick break and go get, fill your cup, do whatever you got to do. And we'll be back. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, we're back. Let's get this wrapped up. I'm so sick of calendars. I don't want to ever look at a calendar again. According
Last
to the
time.
docs,
Push through it.
start
We can do it.
Start and end are always set. So thanks again, Steven. Start and end are always sent unless you have a prefer header in the request, which we're not sending a prefer header, which is great because I don't want to have to deal with time zones at all. So they should always be UTC, so we can make that assumption that they're always going to be UTC unless we send a header. Of course, we're not sending the header. So I'll just put a note in here so that we remember this later. Assume UTC unless we send a header. See this? Okay, cool. So this way we can do a new date time. We can create a new date time off of the
UTC time that we get. Yep.
Off the value that we have, and we can set the. Let's see. Actually, we already have a date time that hangs off of it. We'll just we can create a new one, and we'll set the type to UTC. So we'll do a date time, and we'll set the kind to UTC. It doesn't like that for some reason, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will string it to an ISO string, which is 0, and we're going to have to give it a name because it doesn't have a name. So now we'll do this again, x.end date time, and we'll specify our kind, and we'll do that name there. Okay. Cannot convert string to a long. Date time is expecting. What is our date time object that hangs off of this, I wonder? X.start.date time is of type. I wonder if we can we set the kind to UTC on that without creating a new one?
You might have to end up creating new ones, I think.
Let's see. So we've got our start. We have our date time.
Look at that. Copilot is trying to be clever.
It is. So.
But we know it has value, by the way.
So two string it. Without wrapping in new date time.
What does not like the interesting?
Because remember the date time is this date time zone thing. It's not an actual date time. So so we do still need a new date time. So So do a new date time, and then off of this date time, what do we get that hangs off of this?
Oh God!
It's a string. Oh, for Christ's sake! So
it's a string.
Parse it. We have to parse it. Oh man. Okay.
You have to separate every field, and they have to parse every field. Oh God! Thanks for following. Whoever our follower is, thanks for following us. We're having fun with date times. Is not datetime the hardest thing in software?
I mean, it's no wonder someone asked on Developer earlier about, hey, can you help me figure out how to do date times? It's like, yeah, can you help us figure out date times?
What's internet time? Thank you, Domo. That helps so much.
This is ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry, but this feels completely ridiculous. So
why are we returning a string? That's insane. Why are we returning a string? That's what I'm saying. A graph is not making our lives easier. Okay. Here, you go work with graph. It's amazing. And then suddenly you're like, yeah, if I have to do anything with those objects.
Okay. So one of the things
why not daytime offsets? Beagle is saying, why are we not using daytime offset?
We probably should use daytime offset. You're correct, Beagle. Beagle UK. Beagle up.
Yeah, UTC everywhere works like a charm, but first we need to get the UTC time zone, daytime zone.
So I need to find
there.
Where's the location? So I've got locations in all these, but how does the location present itself in graph?
Hey, SVG Roots, have a lovely dinner. Thank you for joining us and helping us out the past few days. We wouldn't have been here without you. So you're a calendar SME now. We'll come to you every time we have calendar questions.
especially date times. Okay.
Yes.
So it is the display name property off of location. That's what we want.
Okay.
Although that's a location, and there is also a locations array.
Just go with a location. Yeah.
But I think the only thing we're pulling is location singular. So let's do that. So
Yep.
location dot display name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what a this was still far more work than I expected. Okay, let's run this again.
I mean, we solved all the other problems like permissions, security, and calling the API, and now we're struggling with returning the data. The moment of truth. I mean, if it returns the flattened objects, then that's perfect, and all we have to do is just fiddle the time zone stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let's run this again. Oh, it's still not ready. Okay. No, come on, you can do it. Come on, there we go. Yeah. Okay. So we got our ID, we have our subject, we have our start and end. And we have a display name, which we shouldn't call display name. We should call, we'll call it location, even though it really isn't a location. I guess we could.
Well, it's not location. Wait, what does the front end expect? What are you passing the front end?
Well,
what did it make more sense?
Right. Well, right now we're using links like hrefs. But that brings up a good point, which is what if we're doing a conference?
Yeah.
And we want to include a registration link. We wouldn't put that in the we wouldn't put that in the location. The location would be the physical location of the conference, right?
But if it's a physical location, why would you want a registration? Oh, you mean for attending in person? Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like an additional field that if it's there, we want to parse it?
Oh God, I don't. Well, I mean, if I get my calendar open. What are we? I don't even know if we've got any extra fields we can use. I was using location because it's like, well, location, the web page.
We always put that information in the description, isn't it? That goes in the description usually because the location will be. Well, you have to choose one or the other. If it's physical, then you have to. I don't know. That's why in my college days we started with RDBMS diagram. But you went in college in 1985, Double, so it's fine. I don't know. Were you even born in 1985? I don't think you were born in 1985.
I was. That's actually when I was born.
One?
Fact.
1985.
I was born. I was 0.
I was born in 85. Look at that. You guys are same age.
I never would have guessed. Because Dommel looks like he's about 15 years younger than I am. So I never would have guessed.
With all that.
Okay, so anyway, we'll have to. I mean, we're not doing any physical conferences for a while, so I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Because yeah, about the only other thing we've got is we'd have to put something in the description and parse it, which I really don't want to do. Because we won't be the only ones adding things to this.
That's what happens when you have 9 kids.
I don't have 9 kids, but some days
that you know of.
Like it. I'm pretty sure having 3 kids under 7, though, there probably is a 3x multiplier on that.
There is. So, the extra points for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, they've worn me down. Anyway, okay, this is fine. I'm sticking with this for now. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it because I don't feel like parsing a description field because I'll put things in, Dommel will put things in,
yes,
Hannah will put things in, you will put things in, other people in the group will put things in, and as soon as we say, hey, this is the common format for calendar invites, everything blows up. So I'm just, and then someone had mentioned, should we use a date time span, which we should be using. However, oh, goodness gracious.
Date time span?
Date time offset.
Yeah.
So let's do a parse, although, is that going to parse? So that's going to parse our date time.
It should work. I don't know if the two string will work.
But it doesn't have an offset in it.
Oh.
So what we'd end up having to do, oh no. Because daytime offset is an actual point in time for the whole world, as in this specific point at 7:14 p.m. And +4 UTC. Like daytime offset is a specific point in time. A date time, however, doesn't necessarily have doesn't necessarily have a time zone. So 7:14 p.m. could be 7:14 p.m. here, and then 3 hours later would be 7:14 p.m. for you. So it's, do we want a point in time for the world, an actual like absolute time, or a time relative to?
We want a time relative to their time zone.
Well, we don't, because we absolutely start the show at 11 a.m. Eastern time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific time, right?
Yeah.
The event starts at this very specific absolute time. It's not you need to go to an appointment or something that is, or you can log in at this time. It's not like a TV show that's going to come on and be repeated in two different places, right? So that's why we need the offset in there. So date time offset parse from a date time. But can I give the parse can I tell the thing that it is that I know the time zone, essentially, right? Because we do know the time zone, it's UTC.
Mm-hmm.
Date time offset. And then set time zone. Here we go. Maybe we create a new one and then set it. Instantiating a date time offset object. The offset of the resulting date time offset depends on the kind property of the constructor's single parameter. If it is date time kind UTC, the offset is equal to time span 0. Otherwise, it is offset and equal to that of the local time zone. Equal to that of the local time zone. So...
But the local time zone will always be the local time zone of the function, isn't it?
So specify kind, that's a new one. Okay, so we do a date time parse. So we do a date time specify kind with this value, not with the toString, of course, with a kind of UTC. So now we have a UTC date time, at which point we can then wrap that in a date time offset.
And you do a new date time there, right? Oh, no, you don't. Okay, because you're parsing. That's fine. You need to close the bracket at the end. Too many brackets?
Sorry, I don't need that one. So date time specify kind. What does specify kind return? That returns a date time, a new date time. All these allocations is hilarious. A new date time that has a number of ticks specified date time, but designated as either local, UTC, or neither, as indicated by the date time kind value.
I wonder if this will still throw a Stack Overflow because you've done so many allocations.
My function's going to run out of memory. Okay, so now we need to do
or you're going to pay a lot of money.
So now we need to do the same thing, but we need to do it with end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we need to go lobby the graph team to also include a date time somewhere in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is okay. I think we're square now. Now our toString should include, and maybe I need to go back and look at the correct format, but it should include the offset at the end. I believe.
Helgrin saying that your theme is hard to read.
Okay.
You should be using the white theme. Everybody should force JP to use the light theme.
Let's see what we got. I used to have hot dog stand, but I think that one. I don't think I have that one anymore. With the PowerShell ISC.
Oh my God, no! I have many themes there. Oh my God!
All of the periods are now invisible. Oh no, we've really broken it now.
You broke it totally. Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to it just because I can't read it, but like this. But we will take that feedback, Helgreen, and we will figure out a way to make it more readable. I wonder if
we take feedback. Thank you very much, Helgreen.
Yeah. Okay.
I also said on the comments that this is so not 2019 theme, so he needs to come up with something more modern.
There we go. So now we've got our offset at the end. Now these should all be UTC, so we can kind of make that assumption. So now it's just a matter of we have to parse these. We have to parse this time in JavaScript, which shouldn't be. I don't believe. I'm pretty sure we're parsing that already today.
Be careful what you say there.
Yeah.
Because if it's
Okay.
hard doing daytime in C#, imagine how hard it is to do daytime in JavaScript.
Yeah. Okay, so the other place where this is,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and add this. Oh man, what a pain.
It only took us 2 hours to do what, 5 lines of code? 10?
Well, we did delete a lot of other stuff.
Does that count? Counts. I'm kidding.
So the thing
Refactoring
that-
and removing code is always great because you have less code to maintain. Yeah, go on.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm disappointed you didn't do force does have.
Well, I want a different
Wipe
branch.
it.
I don't have the branch.
Wipe
there.
everything out.
So we got the correct thing. Now there's another project, which is called 425 Show Web, and this is the website, right?
The website. Yep.
There are two places that consume this data right now. One is the website, and one is one is the thing that makes the little countdown show up in OBS.
Oh.
And part of me actually thinks the little countdown in OBS, that might actually be easier to work on first, because the website uses, so we didn't build the website, we had a firm build it for us, but
Yep.
they used what's that thing called? I can't remember now.
Jekyll.
It wasn't
Oh, no,
Jekyll, it was a different one.
It's
I don't remember now.
it's a static website anyway, so it precompiles everything. And we're not that well versed in JavaScript.
So this is still pulling the ICS, and preferably we'd rather, instead of pulling the ICS, we want to call our API, which
Exactly.
is not published yet. So we'll come back to this. So the other thing that we do is the little thing that's up in the that comes up on the getting started thing.
Yep.
Which I know this is small, but there's not much to actually look at here. So just bear with me for a sec. The thing that shows up, the little countdown timer thing, that's also some JavaScript. If
That's
I can,
a static web page that is running somewhere, right? Like a web view.
it's just an HTTP. It's just an HTML page on my box.
How are you serving that?
Not serving it at all. OBS can go and read it and fires it up.
Wow,
itself.
that's
If I
amazing.
can find it. Where did it go?
Just go to OBS and figure out where the source is.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Countdown. It's called countdown.html. I just don't know where it is. Let me go look. It is. Let's see. It is. Oh, it's in the website. I'm looking in the wrong place. It's actually in here.
Oh, you've actually put it on the website. Ah.
Well, it's just hosted there. So
it's
here
checked
it is,
in.
local.
Okay.
It's this local folder. So we do two things. The first one, of course, is we set the.
Look at that in your jQuery at the very top.
Well, it was already there, so I just kept it.
Ah.
So
You're pulling the data somewhere. Where? Parsing. I see some parsing, set up the clock.
So what I did was I actually gutted all the other stuff.
Okay.
To go and fetch it and just set it up as a
Static.
to send. We just send in a thing. So we need to go get the data from the endpoint, and then we need to parse it essentially.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. This is not the right one. This is the countdown. This is different. This is something we have to go do too, but this is different from this. This is it, the local calendar. This is the thing.
There you go.
This is the thing that shows all of the stuff, like the little rotating things as you're going, right? Okay, so this I'm using iCal Expander, and iCal Expander is a package that goes and uses iCal.js, but then also handles the recurrence rules and all that stuff. Remember all those issues we had with recurrence rules and figuring everything out?
Yep.
So that does all of that. So instead of getting the calendar data from here,
You just need to call your endpoint.
we need to call our other endpoint. So let's do a fetch, and I'm just going to do localhost for now.
Yep.
And that is events schedule. And then we don't need any of the iCal stuff.
No. So much simpler now.
Well, you say that, but I don't know if it will be or not. So this is JSON, so we need to c.json it. Okay, so then we get our JSON, and then we're going to need to build some events. So the events... So see, I'm never very good at this part. I'm not very good at many parts, but not this part either. So we're going to get an array. I wonder if we just do a map on the array, because we're going to have to parse these times, right?
Indeed.
So then this is being pushed into this cal data object.
Mm-hmm.
And then cal data is what's doing all of this work.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's already parsing a start date. So I wonder if we could, we might be able to just reuse all that. I wonder if we
you need to rename. Yeah, you'll probably be able to do that. You might need to rename your fields.
Yeah. So let's see. There's start.
And.
Okay. Well, I actually don't think we need an end date, because we're not showing the end date during the thing.
Well, that's
right?
a good point. So technically, we can remove it from the return data as well.
So let's try this. So cal data just equal to data. Is that it? Are we done? I mean, obviously there are probably a few other fields that we're going to have to deal with. Let me just comment this out though for a moment. Oops, not this one. So, yeah, because all this is really doing is getting the time zones and the events and then pushing them into this array. If we already have an array, then you're right. It might just be the...
We don't have the summary.
So this is going to be subject. So we have event start. All that looks okay. Add class, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Event.location and event.subject. I mean... So
something is taking the cal data and then it's creating the HTML. Loops through the cal data and creates the HTML. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as you say, that might be all we need to do.
Might be all we have to do. Okay, so let's get this local calendar file up. So this is at file, there it is, local cal, and it's probably going to be a little hard to read. And what we'll do is I'll just change the CSS to be, I'll just change the CSS for this to have a black background so we can see it while we're working on it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No. 0000. Love it.
There we go.
Nice.
So we got our background color. So now what we got to do really is start the function, right? So let's get the function started. 425 bot, I think it was called. 425 bot service func start.
What do you have in the client? What's in your client?
The client is the thing that talks to OBS to mute us, which obviously isn't turned on right now.
Don't tell people that.
Well, they're not turned on, like quite literally not turned on.
But they will start demanding it, like our very good friend Azure Wildfire.
That's true. He probably will. Oh boy, somebody's crying. Oh no, what's going on? It's one crisis after another around here.
Yeah, you have all three kids at the house right now, right? Because of...
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's a cores problem, of course.
God.
So we got to go to our host and set our... Yeah.
I forgot about cores. Because now you're pulling directly from the API, and the API is strict. Allow cores star, right? Isn't it allow cores? The value? Is it? Functions.
Yeah, there is a specific thing in host.json, but I don't know what it is. Cores for Azure Function Localhost. Oh, you do a func host start core star. Okay.
Ah. But you should also be able to define it in... Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah. So host local HTTP port 70. That looks old, though. Oh, no, you can add that to local settings JSON. I got it. Okay. Okay. Easy enough. Host cores. Okay. And that's in local settings. Interesting place for that to be.
Well, obviously, because you don't want the same rules in production, right?
Well, true. I am a little surprised though, because parsing that local settings file has always been such an exercise in opacity for years.
But it should be opaque. You're right.
So let's see. Unable to parse the host configuration file. It clearly doesn't like something in there. Did I not put it in the right node? I thought it looks like it's in the right node. Yeah, so there's values and then host cores star. This must be old. Yeah, this is 2019. So I guess what we'll, for the moment, just because, you know.
Yeah, let's run it through the func host run. What can go wrong? Star.star.
Well, at least it's local and nobody can get to my local. So.
True.
Okay. Are we up yet? Are we up yet? Oh, unable to parse host.
What?
Oh, we had. Oh, you know what? That was. It was. I had something extra in the host. It wasn't in the local settings. I was reading.
Oh. So, there you go.
I'm gonna do another func start, and perhaps this will be. Perhaps this will be the one that works.
So we're too quick to badmouth that find. Unsupported, what was it? Unsupported something? That's not you, is it? We hit it.
So it's querying the... It definitely queried, so this thing definitely got some data back.
Oh, but maybe the parsing didn't go as expected. Is it back?
Let's get this out of the way here.
Mm-hmm.
Get this out of the way, get that out of the way. Oh, well, so we're doing... So that would probably have never worked. All right.
F12?
Okay, so let me just make sure this is... So all this looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, load calendar data.
Yep. Okay. Just do a breakpoint, debug it. No, you need to debug it there.
We'll try it.
You can do that?
We'll try.
Oh. That'll be impressive.
Okay, so did we get some data in C? Yeah. Did we get some data in C?
C is not defined. I like it.
Well, because I haven't gone.
You have to go next. Yes. Oh. Came out.
Unexpected end of input.
Ooh. Do you need to see JSON the data? Is it trying to... Like, we know that we're getting JSON back. Is it see data.json?
Sorry? Well, it should just be an array, though, right? I'm pretty sure it's just an array. That's what we send back. If we look at what we're sending back, it is an array.
Oh, yeah, there's no fields or anything. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's just an array of objects.
Yes.
We're going to get this raw string, and we're going to convert it to JSON objects, which is what the .json does, presumably. So, what's interesting, though, is if I click this to open it, unexpected end of file, that was an interesting one to get. Okay. So, but it seems to just kind of die. It isn't. That was from me typing that in. So I can let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that extra package that we're not using anymore because we don't need the iCal stuff. So we'll get rid of this one, and we'll get rid of this one, because I don't think we need any of those.
Nope.
Event start date. Oh. We don't need that anymore. No, that was a temporary hack for time zone issues. We don't need that. Okay.
Do you not have the same for the... No, we don't have the end date. I forgot. Okay. Let's see. Refreshing. Okay. Oh. What was that?
What was what?
I saw some data there. Okay.
All right. Are we not getting a, I wonder if we're like, are we not getting a response? It says event schedule gave me a 500.
Oh.
So, let's see here. Where's that code run? Oh, so there it is. Upcoming events, start time 17:21, which would have been just now a second ago that we ran this. So we're not returning, we're not getting an error here. Or at least the function itself isn't erroring.
Oh, you know what? Can you do a... Oh, no, it doesn't matter. I was going to say do a console log something to see what comes back before you even parse to JSON. But as you say, it's already throwing a 500, so it almost feels that it's...
Well, you would think a 500. You would think a 500 would show up here in the console though, and it's not.
Yeah. So
localhost 7071 events schedule, and that's what we're calling here. Localhost 7071 events schedule. Okay, that all looks good. Event schedule. So why are we not getting any data? I wonder.
Is it because it's running locally that file? But that should work, right? No such thing as a temporary time zone.
So now it does say something.
Okay.
So there it is. So event schedule. Okay.
We got an okay.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's. Okay. So it's definitely doing work now.
Do you do an F11 there?
Must have.
Or did it go by itself?
Let's step over. Oh boy, the fans are spinning up. Okay. So where's let me get our browser back up. Okay, so it seems to be getting the data, which is great. So let's go look at what Cal data is. Just to see. So oh yeah, there's our data we're getting back in the browser. So that's good.
Yeah. That's the one I saw before.
Let's get back to our other browser here.
Aha.
So there's our data. We've
nice.
We got these 10 objects, cool. And if we look at them, we've got an end, an ID, a location, a start, and a subject. So those are all getting set, so that's good, that's cool. Oh, this is pathetic, but...
We forgot to call the set timings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, should we do that after we set the data?
Yes.
Yeah, because then it's...
Maybe you want to catch the exception, right? You need to have a catch at the end, don't you? Who cares about error catching?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
It either works or it doesn't.
That's right.
We're not going to let you know if it doesn't work.
Okay. Oops, I don't need the number 5 in there.
No. Fat fingering. What's that?
So cal data is 10, cool.
And just run them in. Don't debug. We know it's there.
Okay, so it's getting some... I wonder if it can't parse these dates. That's my guess. It can't parse that date format.
Why? I thought that's an ISO UTC, isn't it?
Oh no, there it is. Look at that. There it is.
Kaboom.
So are these times correct? Let's see. Friday 10/1 at 11 a.m. Oh yeah, there's a lot more data here than there was before compared to the current one that's running. There's a whole lot more data there. Okay, cool. Awesome. and then it starts over. Easy enough. Now we're missing a location on this latest one.
But we didn't we didn't put anything in there. That's why.
Did we not put anything in there?
I don't think we have a location there. That's why you can't find it, or it doesn't display it.
You are correct. Cool. So then this will eventually synchronize over into our other tenant where we have permission, and then it'll show up. So there you go.
Yeah.
So we only spent 2 hours and 57 minutes to write 4 lines of code to do something as stupid and as vain as showing you what events you can come back and watch this circus in again. It's fantastic. Now we still have to go update the website.
We don't ever have to touch this process again. Unless the graph team changes the API or the data objects and we have to fix parsing. But no more messing with calendar dates for now.
Almost, because we still haven't updated the website.
Apps. It's fine.
So, okay, so we'll go back to transparent so that it looks okay in the thing. So at least that's done. Then we have the countdown, which is like the local thing, which right now is just a query string parameter, which is what it's going to stay as. So the other thing we have to do is update the website itself. And the website itself is this Gatsby thing.
Gatsby, yes, no.
So it's like it executes the JavaScript during the render and then takes the output HTML, and that's the thing that it basically makes a static site. So when you want to do JavaScript in the browser, it ends up being like you kind of have to special case the whole thing a little bit, which is kind of weird. So this is all the stuff that generates the events, but the actual events themselves show up in the events list?
That's only for rendering, isn't it?
See, I don't remember. It's been a while now. I remember struggling with this for quite a while.
Oh, you had some fun there with the ICS stuff. I see.
Yeah.
God.
Ugh. Yeah, it was not fun.
Almost reminds me like working with VB Script and Excel back in the early 2000s. Like special uppercase characters and weird stuff. So you have a map there. Oh, there you go. You get the map from the iCal.event. So line 11 is where you get your events. This is what you need to update.
But this is getting... So let's see. Where is this options getting called? Where are we creating our iCal expander? That's what I'm not sure about. That's what I got to go look for. Is it
local
calendar? Calendar.js. This is the thing.
There you go.
So here, we're going to go... Well, we need to publish our thing. We got to do that too.
Yes. And then you need to configure cores.
Cores should already be configured because we're already fetching this other stuff. So, what?
What are you talking about?
It's
How is
already
cores
configured. It's configured in production, like in the.
Are you fetching anything else from that function?
Yes.
Oh, you're getting the tweet stuff. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. Not you.
So,
we are getting the tweet stuff.
Events schedule. So instead of texting it,
JSON.
it's not text, we'll get the JSON. And then, let's see, we should be able to set cal data just like that.
Yep.
Oops. And let's go see, although I think set cal data.
Where is that defined?
Let's see here. Oh man, yeah, I am remembering this. So here's our cal data map. So here we're going to parse. We need to parse start.
Mm-hmm. You don't need. Oh yeah, okay.
And then we need to get. We need the subject instead. We got the location. Location's already there.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just starts. So that's good. Now the thing is, I can't build this thing locally.
Yeah, it needs to be pushed to Azure, to GitHub, right? And then you do the GitHub action.
Yeah, the GitHub action's going to publish it, but we need to publish the function first before we do that. And we have to merge and do all that. So I guess we'll do that later. Anyway, What a pain. Thing is, just time isn't real anyway. It's a human
No.
construct. Who cares?
It's what an adventure, you meant to say, right?
It's an adventure. Exy says, no such thing as a temporary time zone hack. They're always permanent, except for this one. We got rid of this one. 4 months, I think it was, is that what Gitlin said? This was 4 months old. 4 months ago. 4 months ago, we changed it. So, anyway. So, yeah. Well, thanks for spending your day with us.
Your morning, your afternoon, your evening. It's always fun. We have some more exciting things coming instead of messing with calendars, but at least we did graph stuff and we did new graph things, which was good, right?
Yeah. So come hang with us on Discord, of course, as we always say. We're going to do a show on Thursday. We're going to go spelunking. So get your hard hats. We're going to go spelunking in the PIM, Privileged Identity Management API, for Azure Resources, which is a new version. That lets you do application level permissions, which is a big win. App level permissions
with RBAC.
With Azure RBAC, not Graph. Even though you're going through Graph to get there, you don't have to use Graph permissions to use it.
Yep.
Meaning no admin consent. If you have a service principal that's an owner or user access administrator on an Azure resource or subscription that you control, you can do it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go spelunking through this API Thursday because, of course, there's no SDK yet for it. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I have to find
Thanks for the kind comments, Bolt. He said great show as always. Glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Bolt.
So we still have to do our Python stuff, and we still have to do our Next.js stuff, which we've been pushing because we have other things to do. But we're definitely covering some more modern, more exciting things.
Who should we go raid?
Visual Studio is up.
All right, I guess
I don't have anyone else of our friends live. RWX Rob is also streaming.
I think he's always streaming.
Adding figures to Bass Z tool. I don't know how exciting this will be to our friends. Visual Studio is doing ASP.NET community stand-up, and they're looking at Carter, which is a different way to do MVC in .NET 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that Carter was one they took off of. Was that a fork of another project that was on another sort of alternate HTTP server that was an ASP. I don't remember. I have to go back and look.
Carter is on top of ASP.NET, I think, but it provides you with a more more opinionated way of building APIs.
It's always good.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, let's go over. We're gonna get this raid kicked off, and let's head over to Visual Studio, see what they're doing with Carter, and I guess we're gonna get out of here until Thursday. So come join us on Discord, get your questions answered. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, issues, concerns, personal attacks. You know how to find us, and we'll see you on Thursday. Later, everyone.